Hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crank and with that metal station. And today I'm having a chat to guitarist Shaun Van Looy of the Impaler, who recently released their album A Fate Worse Than Death. If you caught my show over the weekend, you would have caught a track from it. Came out February 19th. Second album. It's a ripping album, man. Cheers for making some time to have a chat with me.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good to have a chat to you.
No, absolute pleasure, man. So, I'll start right back at the start, man. Since you're a guitarist, and I've got a bit of time to kill now, man. Since this is all good, can I ask, how'd you first get into guitar, man? Where did your journey start with guitar?
It was early high school. Like my dad always played guitar, had guitars around the house and that sort of stuff, but never really took that much time to do it. But yeah, first year of high school is, you're a teenager and everything's going and all your mates want to start doing something. So yeah, we picked up guitar around then, and yeah, like I said, we've got a musical family anyway. But yeah, that's when I started like taking it seriously. You learn like all like early Metallica and all that sort of stuff, everything that every kid sort of learns, and progress from there. So yeah, that was when I started, like about 12, 13.
Yeah, what were you getting into then, like your Metallicas and just the fucking usual stuff?
Yeah, so just like the basic stuff everyone sort of gets into, like Ride the Lightning and all that sort of stuff. And then as like everything was back then, you sort of find heavier stuff because your friend listens to something or someone else listens to, and then you get sort of like, I moved on to like Slipknot and stuff like that. And Slipknot was huge for everyone in high school. As soon as you get to like 15, 16, all of a sudden it's about that. So yeah, just that. And then slowly progressing on from then.
Yeah, Slipknot huge in high school. It was huge for me, and I wasn't even in high school at that time, dude. It was all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it kind of fucking launched off everywhere. But that was good because it give a good entry point for a lot of people to fucking start or kind of reach into your Slipknots, and then it becomes a slippery slope. And before you know it, you're cranking up your Behemoths and your Watanes and your batteries and shit like that as well, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what was your first band, man? How'd that lead into your first band?
So I was probably 16, 17, first band. Played in a hardcore band in Melbourne called Legacy, and then they changed the name to Term 4 eventually. But it was just kind of like we were pretty much just wanting to do our own version of like Misery Signals and that kind of sound. And then we kind of like were sort of like heavily influenced on that and like Carpathian and those kind of hardcore bands. So that was my first band, like playing in a sort of like a Melbourne hardcore sort of band. And then
and then you're in Wanderlust as well, aren't you? WND.
Yeah. So what that is that is a project that me and my cousin do. So it's sort of like a family thing. We just when we want to write some music, we go away we just like go focus a weekend to writing music, and whatever comes out, and then we just release it by ourselves, and then that's sort of like that weekend's worth of work, and then that's what it is like. So it's just a purely creative outlet.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to mention that, because I had a little bit of a look at that, man. It sounded pretty cool as well. So it'd be good to kind of come back and do those little things with your cousin as well after a heavy project like your hardcore, and come back and kind of
exactly right.
See what you enjoy about music. So I'll talk to a few musicians that have their main band, and they kind of go off and do something on the side after they break an album out, then they come back, and that kind of reinvigorates them going forward into their other projects.
Well, I think you write better music the more music you write. So you sort of have to just keep doing it to find. You might write one good song every 4 songs. So if you're just constantly doing it anyway, and like having a project like that where it's just, we don't particularly go back and edit a lot. We don't really go, we wrote 8 songs, 9 songs, so we'll release 3 of the good ones. We just write what it is, and then that comes out, whether it's good or not. That's just what we wanted to, like, that's the ideas we had for that writing session or whatever, and then it just goes out. So it's a good way to just like, not that in a bad way, but it's a good way to just purge a lot of riffs and purge a lot of things that you do if you just write music. Like you might not think it's good, but someone might like it. You just simply going through the process of writing a riff, finishing a song, polishing it, if you like mixing and mastering, doing that, and then releasing it, just going through that process is sort of it's practice in and of itself. So I think in an age when it's essentially free to put music out if you want to, or if you've got the skill to want to do it, you can start to finish a riff to a finished song and release an EP for free, and it's easy to do it. So why not do it if you want to?
Yeah, well, if you have that technical know-how, you can kind of set up a studio in your office and your room and work from there.
Yeah.
So the Impaler, we'll dive into that now. Can you tell me a little bit about how the band originally began? Because you had the original debut come out, I think it was the Death Cult back near the start of 2020 there, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think that was, July it came out. July.
Yeah.
So essentially it started as the same thing. Me and my brother we've never written music before, and he's the same as me. He grew up playing guitar and that sort of stuff. We never collaborated on anything. So we decided, we thought we would do it. And we just got to writing, and I think about 3 months later, we had all the tracks written. And that's the same process. It's us writing, recording, mixing, mastering, releasing artwork, everything we do ourselves, and that's just what we did. We just put it out on Spotify through DistroKid, and just let it go. And that was pretty much all that it was ever going to be. And then it just started to build really quickly, and played around with a few like marketing things on Instagram for something to do, and sort of picked up, and that's how it went.
Yeah, so you kind of dropped this expecting it not to go anywhere, hence the little write up on Bandcamp. I noticed I even had a look over at Bandcamp on the desktop there, and you can kind of see that it was kind of meant to be that, but it was so well received, I suppose. And you're like, we got to follow up on this. We probably had a ton of material too, still, like after writing that Death Cold,
So that's pretty much what it was. It was the same thing as like the Wanderlust, and it was just like I said, we've got a pretty musical family, so we just wanted to really just try something, and recorded what we had and decided to do it ourselves, and then just put it out.
Were you working on? Sorry about that, but were you working on that through 2019? Did you actually start kind of working on that? When did you start kind of working on that?
Not really, to be honest. It was pretty quick, spur of the moment. I think maybe around December or something like that. So it wasn't a quick, it wasn't a slow writing process at all. It was pretty much, it was just fast one after the other, and we kind of just did it. And I think having the practice of not writing too much and worrying too much about it, because it was never meant to be anything huge. We just kind of were like, that's what it is, and then that's what it's going to be. We didn't arm and ahh over songs for like 6 months or 8 months going, oh, should we put it in? Should we not put it in? We just go, all right, we wrote 7 songs and we did it. And then we were like, oh, we'll put a cover in there just for some fun. So we did the Slayer cover at the end of the album. So, it was never meant to be like a huge thing. So we didn't have too much focus on like worrying about what it was. So as soon as it was written quickly, and then it was put out. So,
Yeah, and so the follow-on of Fate Worse Than Death, when did you start working on that? Because you're in Melbourne, you have been locked down more than anyone in Australia and probably the world. So can you tell me a little bit about when you started working on a Fate Worse Than Death? Was this a matter of you and your brother Ben sitting around going, fuck, we've got all this time, let's just start jamming out some riffs? Or
not really. It was, we went through the release process of Death Cult, and just sort of was just going to leave it, happy to leave it and whatever, but I might have a busy brain, so I just I bought an 8-string and started writing, and without a lie, it was 2 weeks later it was done.
Oh wow!
So it was a few riffs here and there came in and went, and like we sat on it for a little while. There was probably maybe 5 tracks that were done. And then the last few was from another guitarist that came in a little. So like we had it written, and then we had a few more members join, and then we filled out the rest of the band, and then they contributed the last little bits to Fate Worse Than Death. Yeah. So
can you tell us a little bit about that, the filling out of the band as well, as you're going through?
Yeah. So my timeline's a little hazy, but it was around, what month is it now? It was around. Yeah. So it would have been
like that. It still feels like 2020, 21 is starting to say, mate.
Yeah. It's like, some time ago they did this. So we had most of it written, and then yeah, we decided that we should, because it was still just me and Ben, so we just decided that we should probably fill out the band, and if we get show offers and things like that, you want to have a full lineup. And the studio vocalist lives in America, so you can't really have a show like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get offered a show, so we had to fill it out. So we just sort of like asked friends and people that were around and people that were listening to it that knew of us, that messaged us, asking about the band and stuff like that. So we thought, we'll reach out and just see who does want to jump in, and and even just fill in, not necessarily with any intent of it being like, you can be a full-time member and this is a big thing. It's just like, if we get a show, you can learn the songs and come have some fun with us and play.
We might get some money.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and just for something to do, so we filled it out and got some mates, and then they contributed a little bit. It wasn't like a big process of like auditions or anything like that. It was purely just, I know a guy who's like got a similar guitar, he plays well, or this, our drummer is another cousin of ours, like another family member. So same thing again. It was just learn the stuff, and then when we're ready, we'll call you. We played a show about a month ago. That was great. That was in Melbourne at Stay Gold. So that's really the only process of it. It's once you peek behind the curtain a little bit, there's really not that much going on. Like it's pretty like lighthearted and easy going. There isn't too much crazy planning that gets put into it, or it's just sort of like, oh, we have this, okay, put it out. Like there's not much else that because we didn't really want to choke it, and we didn't want to like feel like it was a job, and it's just this is a sort of a passion project thing, and it picked up well enough to be able to give it warrants to be able to put more time into it. But yeah, that was pretty much all it was. The other guys, there's local guys that live closer to me. Ben's in Melbourne and I'm in Bendigo, so it's probably about a 2-hour difference.
Yeah.
So there's the other boys are up here, and Ben and our cousin, our other drummer Jammie, is he's in Melbourne. So that's really all it was. It was just local people that we knew, and again, family members. Nothing much else.
Good time for it too, as well, as we were saying in Melbourne. Like, fucking come and lay down some tracks. You got fuck all else to do. I know you can't go anywhere, so get into it.
That's really all it is. Like, and like I said, that there isn't a big production thing or anything. It's legit. Where I'm sitting right now is where it all gets recorded, mixed and mastered. Like, it's just right here. So
the Impaler studio.
Yeah, it's my kid's old bedroom.
Converted. I've got one of the kids' old bedrooms too as an office. Yeah. A couple of the older ones.
We're lucky that we live in a time when we can do that. If you've got a Mac and a powerful enough computer or whatever, and an interface and the want, you can do it. Like, you don't need a $15,000 budget and a producer anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm beaming my show to the US from here in my studio too. So
there you go.
That's simple. You can do it from your home, and like, got people in Norway, UK, whatever, all over the place is listening. So it's an absolute joy. Was that first gig, man? Was that your first gig? That was
Impaler's first one, yeah. So obviously when we released, when we released Deathcore, it was right in the middle of so it was just nothing was going to happen. But yeah, that was the first one, and it went really well. So the show was sold out. We played with Inhibitor and Blacklist, so they're some other local Melbourne bands. And it was just a good show. Like, everyone had a similar group of friends. Everyone had a similar support group. So the show sold out in about a week. Yeah, because it was just kind of like everyone knew each other that was going to go anyway. So it didn't really feel like it was going to be a huge thing. But then it turned out just being 100 people. Everyone knew each other, and it was just a good vibe. There wasn't any bullshit or any competition thing that can happen at local shows or anything like that. It was just great to hang out with everyone and have a beer, and everyone got to experience playing music again. Yeah, it would have been a great gig too. And an Inhibitor and Blacklist, a couple of bands I've interviewed, and that Inhibitor album was another great deathcore band. It's funny you mentioned that, because there's been some great deathcore albums, and I'm putting this one in there that I've really loved, and I'm looking forward to where the future goes for all of you guys. Like Babarusa, Inhibitor, Impaler. There's some good deathcore coming out of Melbourne ways that I'm looking forward to kind of where it's going to go as well going forward. Yeah. Must be something in the water over here.
Yeah, Melbourne's got a great metal scene all together in Australia. Like, it's kind of like a microcosm for the whole world. I said this the other day in my show. It's like we have so much great music, and it's good to hear, like, even though the numbers were capped, you didn't have a problem getting to shows. And like, I'm fucking kind of, it sucks we can't have any internationals, but it's kind of good because everywhere in the world, the music scene has been affected, more so the local scene as well. So at least then when shows do start fucking slowly, people can get along and really support their local shows and gigs like the one you had, the ones that are coming up, and getting along to these shows, selling what tickets we have, buying bloody merch, and kind of helping this scene go forward. Because fucking Spotify, that stupid ass Spotify playlist cunts keep going on about and whatever else isn't helping the community at all. You know, buying tickets, buying merch, buying fucking copies of the album. If you want to buy some digital copies, go buy the digital copy of the album. Things like that are really going to help get this scene back on its fucking feet, not stupid ass Spotify playlists.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Well, now's a perfect opportunity for, the way I see it anyway, in my opinion, is perfect opportunity for bands that are that kind of smaller to mid-level, that maybe haven't played huge shows or haven't really ever thought that like they could get on a festival or anything like that, or like a Unify or anything like that, or some of these other ones like Full Tilt that are popping up. We can't have internationals here, so it's not like those festivals can call on a massive international band to headline them. So when they do come back, if it's a year or whatever, we can't have internationals here. So the bigger Australian bands are obviously going to headline it, but that's a perfect opportunity for these small and mid-level bands to put in the work now and show the bookers and promoters that you're willing to work. And then you might see yourself on a Unify lineup when it's an all-Australian lineup. Do you know what I mean? Or those kind of big festivals, you've got a perfect opportunity now to put in a bit of work while everyone's down. Like, try and make some cool videos at home, like, demo some new material, do all that sort of stuff that you can do in your own time to show promoters that you're putting in work, and you'll get the bigger shows than international bands normally get. Everyone sort of gets to move up the ladder a little bit while the internationals aren't here. Yeah. So it's a perfect opportunity for those sorts of bands.
Yeah, and put the work, and it's the same in every country. Every country, like, listening to this, not just in Australia, but every single country there is. Get along and support your local communities, because I know here in Australia we need that. And you know the quality of talent we have here in Australia. So, well, dude, you can fill a 3-day festival, no worries, with some of these 3, 4, 5-day festivals with some of these Aussie bands we've got here. Not a bloody problem. And one of the big, CJ McMahon kind of guessed a little bit on vocals there. Can you tell me a little bit about how that happened?
So we had 2 spots on the on A Favourite Works of Death that we knew we wanted to get features for, and just because of it's sort of having a different voice every now and then in your project, sort of, I know, just gives a bit of contrast. I'm a big fan of it. Even before you think about the marketing point of view, I'm a big fan of like sonically having a guest vocal, change up the song a little bit. I just messaged him on Instagram. Like, I had played shows with him, like with IART before and previous bands and stuff like that. So we knew all of each other, and I just messaged him and said, we had a quick chat, and then I just said, oh, look, I've got this thing. Do you want to do a guest vocal on it? And then he said he was considering doing the Featured X. So this is prior to him being on Featured X and all that sort of stuff. And he just said, this is the price I'm going to be charging on them. We can work something out. And that was really it. It was just a small conversation. Sometimes that's all it takes. If you have someone in mind. No, I don't think anyone in the metal scene in Australia is unapproachable. So just send them a message, and you never know, someone might like your stuff. He liked the song. He was keen on working on it, and he said, yeah, sweet. And that was really all it was. It was just one conversation on Instagram. So it can be like that. Like, if for anyone out here that's sort of like listening to it that wants someone like that on their stuff, there's obviously Featured X. That's a great website to use now, because people are on there. They're willing to want to work on features and stuff, and then they get their money for what they're doing. But
that's cool.
Even if someone's not on there, just send them a message. You never know what they're going to say. You got someone else listening to the music.
Yeah, and CJ's cool. I've seen him in a ton of tracks, like from some cool up and coming Aussie bands. I interviewed a band called The Ascended. He jumped on their album as well. It's just cool. I've seen a few other. He's given him his time, and it's good to see in the Aussie scene that they don't get fucking pretentious and go, "No, I'm not working with that band. I'm not." And I have noticed a lot more, especially with this COVID, that the people are popping up more and more of feature spots on
Yeah.
albums. It's, why not? We're all sitting at home in the same position working. Why not just work?
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing too. And yeah, like I sort of touched on before, even on the marketing point of view, like no one is too big to want marketing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that CJ benefited from being on our thing, but you never know what kind of market you're going to cross-pollinate with doing a guest feature. So yeah, it's always good marketing. People listen to their band or listen to yours because they want to see your feature and stuff like that. It's a positive all round. Plus, you get to do music that's not your own music. I think as a musician, sometimes when you're constantly writing music or you're doing this and that on your own stuff, you can get a bit bored. So collaborating with another artist on their music is sometimes a refresher as well.
Yeah, and I like the way the album, like from 4, it kind of felt like Mourn as it kind of led into Fear. It kind of almost felt like perfectly led in, almost felt like one ended as one was starting, kind of that sound to me. I was sitting there and I'm like, wow, wait a sec, go back. It sounded really, and that's the bonus of listening to albums. Like, you don't just listen to one song and go on fucking next. I'm an album person. I love getting albums.
Yeah.
You pick up little nuances and stuff like that you don't get from just one fucking song or whatever.
Yeah, I'm big on the start to finish. Like, if you listen, you get to hear a whole package, how the band wanted you to hear it, whoever was writing it, how they wanted you to hear it. And like you said, it's the last 5 seconds, 10 seconds of each song. You see the songs join and you might work out why the next riff has that part in it, or like things like that. But you're hearing it how the band wanted you to hear it. And also, most bands nowadays aren't they will do concept albums. They will do an album that has a theme that runs out the whole album. So if you listen to it start to finish, you'll get an extra dimension of something that, instead of just listening to one song and being like, oh, that's got some cool riffs in it. Whereas if you listen to start to finish, you might pick up on something that the band was trying to give you that they don't necessarily let on.
Yeah, well, I understand why some bands are doing it, but I don't, because they're, I've got to make an album full of singles or something. But I like an album full of music as well, and songs and a story. And like you're saying, when you get these albums and they tell a whole story like the band intended from start to finish. I remember chatting to this one band that made an album 45 minutes. I think they're like, fuck you, we're just putting it out. And it was kind of all this just woven together. And I love that. And I don't want people to forget the joy of getting an album, the album art and things like, a full album.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, we sorted, I had a personal goal with A Fate Worse Than Death anyway. For Face Value, it's a good release with good riffs on it. It's got some heavy songs on there and stuff like that. But if you do listen to it from start to finish, there's a goal in the whole. As a whole thing, there's a sonically for when I mixed it. It's a goal to sort of be a bit of an emotional journey throughout the album. If you listen to it from start to finish, the first 3 songs are meant to be kind of sparse and sonically jarring, and Immortals like the 3rd song, and that's deliberately made to be a bit overwhelming as far as like the mix and how it's sonically presented. And then as it flows into Mourn and Hatred, I think it is the next one. I can't remember off the top of my head. As it flows into Mourn and then the next song.
Mourn, Fear, Hatred with Josh.
And so as it flows into those, that's when the mix starts to clean up a little bit and the riffs get a bit more aggressive. And then towards the end, and then Release is the last song, which is essentially like the funeral of the album. That one is the same again. That's more of literally what the song is like. It's called Release. So that's designed again to be like a good way to end the album. And like, so the vocals are all through like there'll be a word here and there that's an echo chamber, and there's a lot of like thick lead over the top and all that sort of stuff. So if you do listen to it from start to finish, it's designed sort of to do something a little bit different to just listen to Mourn because CJ's on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, it is a good marketing thing, but that was the goal. Because the lyric concept and the original writing concept of the album of Fate Worse Than Death is sort of addressing the things that can happen to, like, we currently live in a world where there's a lot of depression and things like that, and the it's dealing with the dilemma that can happen if you're left after death. So like if you have a person that does leave us early, like or if you know it's by accident, or you know you've got things that happen in your life, it's dealing with the processes of life when you're still here. And that's sort of the design of the album, and that's sort of like why the album is mixed the way it is and things like that. So yeah, the earlier parts of the album are the realizations of the events that happen through to, you know, the different stages of grief, and then the release is like, yeah, like I said, the funeral of the album that's essentially supposed to be themed towards that, towards the release and letting go of the trauma that happened earlier on. So that's sort of like a bit more of an in-depth look of what we were going for on it, what I was going for on it particularly as well. But yeah, so there's a little bit something different in there if you do want to go back and listen to it from start to finish, and you might get what I'm
because as you was talking about release, I was listening to that, and I have these moments. It clocks in at like 8:12. It's I have these moments of introspection when I listen to songs and some songs, and I found that in this track, like toward as you listen to the whole album, then you come to the end, and I just find myself wandering sometimes in my thoughts through the music. It's bloody amazing. And when you said it like that, because I've gone through everything you kind of talk with, just about everyone has, you know, and, you know, someone who struggles with depression every day and mental illness, I totally get that. And I'm going to be going back in my car and cranking that again too. Dude. Yeah. It's an amazing album.
Yeah. If you, because it is something that happened to me and my brother. We won't get into it, but it is something that happened to me and my brother. And sort of the reason the reason I felt the need to go and do something like that. So if you have something like that, it is for me anyway. Like, not just because I wrote it, I'll put it on in the car and listen to it from the start to finish if I've got a long drive, and just let myself put the experience in the songs, and then like go through it. And then when you listen to release at the end, it really does. Like I said, not trying to toot my horn, but it really does let you release whatever that experience sort of was, just the way that the song's designed, and the way that some of the song ebb and flows, and the way that like some of the lead layers hit over the top. And it's sort of, I tried to design it that way, and I think I was pretty successful in it.
Oh, you definitely were, because you hit the nail on the head. I had that in the car, feeling exactly that moment of introspection. I love it when I do listen to albums and I do hit those points in an album where I'm just totally immersed sonically in the music, and then my thoughts are just going all over the place, and the song finishes and I'm like, where the hell have I been? And, you know, you've done a good job as an artist to kind of convey that feeling to a listener as well.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the fact that you've like you said, you have the experience. It's amazing that anyone can sort of experience that sort of thing just listening to music. To be able to do that as an artist is a big thing, I think. That's the point, I reckon, that you can sit there and write the coolest riff, or like have like the coolest drum fill and that sort of stuff, which is cool, don't get me wrong. Like it's technically cool, and it's like, fuck, no, that was pretty sick, but the whole point is emotion, really. The whole point's to make you do it. Like, you can write a simple mosh riff, but if it gets people banging their heads and swinging their arms, that's what that's meant to do. And if you can write, you know, something that's emotive, like that's sort of the whole point of writing music. I think anyway, for me, like that's sort of the whole point. If you can make someone else feel something, or you can make someone else think something, or they get something out of it emotionally, then it changes their day a little bit. That's the point, really.
Yeah, connection through the music. It's art. It's exactly. Music is life, man.
Yeah,
that's
man.
For sure. What's next for you guys after? Yeah, what you got?
I'm not sure yet. We have got a few songs demoed. Like I said, we work pretty quickly, so we have got a few songs demoed, but we'll sort of wait and see how it goes. Like, we try to put a bit more focus into releasing A Fate Worse Than Death, and targeting a bit. We noticed that with Deathcore, whilst it was received well in Australia, it was received very well in America. So we are trying to push that a little bit. So for A Fate Worse Than Death, we tried to get more PR and more marketing in America to see if we could push that a little bit more. Just because of the response, it seems to be doing well over there. Australia is one of those things that I've noticed if you have good word of mouth in Australia, that'll work. You don't necessarily need a huge PR here. It's pretty quickly for everyone to kind of like talk to each other and say this band's sick, this band's sick. So we're just going to let it do what it does there, and we push it overseas a little bit. So we're just going to kind of let it flourish. I think not focus too much on choking it and worrying about doing another thing. So if we get offered shows, we'll take them. But yeah, at the moment, it's we're just going to see what happens. Just let it go.
Yeah, well, I got listeners from US, UK, and Norway, and I know they were rapping on it, man. I got some people who jumped in the forum, man, and they were like, dude, that was cool, because I do a new music set every Friday, and they really dug it to the US listeners, and got some UK listeners that were digging it, and a few people from Norway really ripping into it.
Yeah, man. Sweet.
I'm going to be hammering the hell out of it on my show. I'll be
cool.
out there, man. Absolute pleasure, Shaun. I'll let you get about the rest of your day. I better go do what I've got to do. Any last words, shout outs, or thank yous you want to add in, mate, before we sign out?
Just thank you to anyone who listens to it. If you share it on Facebook, if you share it on social media, if you show your mate, like whatever it is, thanks for listening to it. It's means a lot that people pick up music and want to listen to it. So that's really it.
Killer, man. Absolute pleasure. Thanks, man. You have a killer day, dude.
Thanks, dude. See ya.